Yay. Hey everyone. Hey Ian, how are you?
I'm all right. Thanks. It's been a little bit.
It has been a little bit.
I was trying to figure out
That's like
how long it's been. 6 weeks?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
about that.
We
Yeah.
didn't break up. We're still good. Kat
Correct.
stepped out on me a couple of times. She is speaking with other humans in public, but
Oh,
it's she's still coming back for more. So I'll
cor
keep.
correct. Yep. Oh my goodness, it's so funny.
So
Stop making
what are
my
you
face
what are you?
hurt.
Oh, sorry. Are you getting flushed? Are you matching
No, no, no,
your
my face is hurting because I'm grinning so much.
Well, what are you bringing with to us today?
Ah, yeah. So seeing the progress. I actually wanted to put a question mark on the end of that. Am I really seeing the progress?
Oh,
And there's just so many different angles to seeing the progress, right? It's like, so I thought it was a really good topic, um, because I've found myself in the last few weeks, okay, let's say 6 weeks, looking at where things are progressing and where things are not, and where things have progressed, but it doesn't feel like they've progressed. And I then there's the element of, well, I know that they've progressed, but have they ended yet? And can I get it to the end yet? It's just this all about the progress and the mix of feelings and emotions around that. So yeah, not
yeah.
much in this at
I'm
all.
assuming you have a specific story you want to share.
Well, I've got multiple stories, but yes, I'll share one of them. So, as I've shared multiple times, my daughter's getting married this year. It's only a few weeks away now, which is great. It's very exciting. And we've got the renovations. I know we've been talking about renovations for a few years, and the way that we're doing the renovations is a couple of little rooms at a time so that we can still live in the house comfortably, but also focus on getting that next section done. So this year was deliberately planned so that we would do the easiest possible sections, which is basically our dining area and a hallway. Because there's not really a lot of furniture. We're not replacing the furniture. I'm updating a little bit of it, but really the main thing is the painting of the walls. So, as usual, we have the uh, elements of the prep. Now, painting a wall sounds like it's the super easy part, and it is, but all the prep before is is the longer, it's the bit that
It's
takes the
time
longest.
consuming.
And so all throughout June, we've been prepping. And so it feels like the walls aren't progressing because pretty much they look very similar to what they did 3 weeks ago. Because 3 weeks ago, we started to find a few patches that needed to have a little bit of undercoat put on them. And then um, we went through and I undercoated that so they were sort of looking a bit splotchy on the walls. And then Ren's got a little bit more pedantic and found more areas that he wanted to patch because when we put the blue tape on the wall, the paint just came off
Mm,
from the previous, like 30
count.
years ago, paint job. So we've been walking around with these walls that have just got more undercoat on them,
Then count.
joking that maybe we just go with that as a wall feature. Because all we seem to be doing is adding more undercoat to these patches. And then last weekend was the first time I got to put the color on the wall. However, as I don't know if everyone knows, but you've got to do two coats and you've got to cut in, which means there's kind of like eight different kind of applications to do, eight different steps when you're painting,
For sure.
because there's a lot. So the only piece I got to do was cutting in the blue, which means it feels like the blue is starting to come onto the wall, but it's not the full wall. It's just the little edges
Yeah.
around. And then I bring back in the wedding, and it's only 7 weeks away. And we still have all of this stuff to do to get this painting done so the space is complete for the wedding. Not that we're having the wedding at our house, but the girls are getting ready at our house. So I wanted it to be looking really fresh and lovely. And I know that we'll get it done. This is the thing. I know we're going to achieve it. I've got enough buffer to get that done, and I know how efficient we can be with the painting because this is not our first time.
Not
So
your
we
first
know what.
rodeo.
Nope. But there was this real dilemma in I can see the progress, but it's not enough. But it's matching the plan, but it doesn't feel satisfying. It's like I can see the progress, but it doesn't feel like it's enough. And I wondered then, I started thinking about other areas in my life that I might be seeing the progress, but not feeling like it's enough.
Mhm.
And they started to appear. So
Well,
I,
we tend to have themes that are running in our lives throughout, and if you take the time to sit back and look at it, you can see how one thing is generally not as isolated as you think. There's more to the theme.
yeah, I mean, even with the wedding, like we, so it appeared as a little mini story in the wedding, right? So we picked up Angel's dress and then we had to take it to the alterations person. And so we've progressed. We are now in possession of the dress, but we're now not in possession of the dress because it's now with someone else for another month before we pick it up and get it back to my house. And so it's like we have the dress, but we don't have the dress. So there's progress, but what are we actually seeing? It's not feeling very satisfactory yet. And it's this ongoing thing. Um, and then, so can you focus on where the progress has been achieved and feel a sense of satisfaction in there?
I think this is why projects and project managers have one of those charts. I think they're called Gantt charts.
They
Right?
are.
So, I didn't know if that was a thing there or not. But all of the steps are put onto this chart with progressions, and one thing can't happen before that. You can't put the main coat on until the cutting is done, and you can't do the cutting before it's taped and patched and all that other stuff. So if you were to take your project and put it all out onto the chart, you would see that it's going to take you 2 months, well, I don't know, whatever, to do the
Yes.
job. But all of those little steps are the ones that are the least satisfying
Yeah.
because it's the day that you get the rollers out and you see like, oh, color, cool. But before that, it's like nothing has happened. Nothing of value
Correct.
has happened.
Yes. And and I and I then applied that to I'm working on a proposal for an event in November later this year. And I have been putting some of those pieces in place, but it hasn't really progressed from I still need to have the conversation with the person that I'm putting in the proposal to. So there's nothing in concrete yet. Like there's no contract signed. There's no, yes, we've agreed to go ahead and do this. It's simply the tiny steps, much like the preparation. It just all these, and it's like, well, I have made progress, but it hasn't been completed. And you're right, it feels a bit invisible sometimes.
And I think in some cases it is invisible. Like I remember at some point somebody telling me, actually, I think it was like an old wise coach that had come into our organization and was coaching my boss at the time. And I had already had my coaching background, but um, I remember him saying at one point, uh, like 80% of like that report you have to write is done like in your mind before it actually gets out onto the paper. So you might not feel like you've made a lot of progress because a lot of those steps in the Gantt chart are internal things. And because they're internal, they're invisible, they don't exist. So it doesn't look like you've done work, but you've had to do a lot of preparation and planning in the getting ready to write.
Yes, and there's a lot of, oh, I could include this, and no, maybe I'll include that element of this element in the proposal and those sorts of things. So yes, there's a lot of movement, and the proposal isn't even finalized yet. It's a bit like the painting. See, it's everywhere. It's everywhere in my world.
It's here too. It's here. It's here too.
So what was prompted in your brain when I suggested this
Well,
topic? I
I
did.
have two different topics, but it comes down to the same thing, and I can use my deck renos also, trying to like resand and stain those. And the progress is super slow, but it's similar, right? There is a lot of preparation steps that have to take place before you see um, the part that's satisfying, the fine
The
that when you're actually
beautiful
putting
deck
when you
that you can sit on.
exactly, which I can sit on now. But I guess the slight different angle to this, as far as seeing the progress, is the just getting started piece of it. Because it's
Ah,
hard to you can't see progress until you start. And I think there's a lot of at least I feel this, a lot of overwhelm when I know there's so much to do. I think I did the calculation at one point about how much square footage of deck I have to stain, and it's ridiculous.
oh, that would
I'm
be
probably done
scary.
half of it now, maybe. But it's you just have to start. Because when you start, then things start to flow. You start to see a little bit sense of, you get a bit of a sense of accomplishment, and things are progressing, maybe not at the speed that you want or had expected, but you're moving towards something. And it's almost like time will, I don't know if slow down's the right word, but like it,
Yes, time will make it happen almost. If you've started it, I think time makes it happen, right?
yeah. So
Because
I so
there's
I
a natural momentum that happens.
yeah, and what was beautiful about this was there's of the sections that I've done, I've got like a main deck, I've got like a little sub deck that is like my zone, and then I've got like the steps that come down from that. But the last one that I was going to be able to do was my spot. And my motivation to get this all done was so I had my spot back. And I did the majority of the sanding and the staining until like Father's Day, and then Julie's like, I'll do that one. I'm like, okay, cool. So I didn't have to do any of the prep work for that one. She needed a little bit of help to get going or whatever. But I mean, she saved me probably 4 hours of sanding, and then I was only stuck with the satisfying part, which is like, okay, this I'm only going to be out there for like an hour, but I'm going to see it come to life. So it's amazing what will happen once you just get started. Like you don't know who's going to volunteer and help out or a chip in or whatever.
Yeah, and like we had at the beginning of May, I had this idealistic plan. I call it idealistic because it has not come off to plan, but it was idealistic that we would have everything done by the end of June. But that was assuming that I was around for every weekend, which I haven't been. And it would mean that we would have both Saturday and Sunday to do these things, which actually isn't the reality. We've got activities to do, like, I don't know, buying my husband a suit for the wedding. Oh, that's a thing. That's
That'll
gonna
take some
happen.
time.
We've got the Bucks Day, which he's out for, which means I'm not doing painting while he's out playing virtual reality games. I'm not. And so it's sort of what we thought the plan would be, which was, every weekend. It kind of is every weekend, but it's not 2 days of a weekend, it's one. And yeah, and sticking to that plan. I think this is the other piece. I get the starting, but also going, actually, we've committed to this, so we need to make sure it continues. So it does mean that as much as we would like to sit around and drink some wine and have a lovely, relaxing lunch on a Sunday, that is not on the calendar until this painting's done. So it's about the reprioritizing what's most important and making sure that that progress keeps moving. But again, as soon as I say that, I can go, and I just want to see the progress I just want to see enough of the progress.
You've got me in two different. I want to jump down two different tangents at the same time, and I can't do it. They don't belong together yet. But yeah, there's something to the course correction, right? Because there's going to be elements that come in that were either unforeseen or, like for me, like weather. Like I can't stain in the blazing heat, and I can't stain if it's going to rain. So right now I have a wonderful break because it's blazing hot and it's raining a lot. So I get a break. It's fine. So you course correct your schedule. The other thing that I think I want to talk about a little bit is changing your perspective of the progress that you've made.
Yeah.
So I've often used the analogy of like you do a hiking trail and you're going up a mountain, but you're like in the woods, so you don't really know how far you've gone until you get into an opening and you look back and you can see how far you've traveled. And I don't know if we give ourselves enough credit for the distance that we've traveled until we take the time to look backwards.
Yeah. And it's yes, I agree. I don't think we do that enough. We kind of get caught up in the where are we in the moment? Where are we right now? And oh,
And
and
it's
I
not
still
where I
haven't
want to be.
achieved that thing. Yeah. And because in my renovation story, well, oh my goodness, we've achieved half of the rest of the house. So that's pretty darn good. Um, and in this extra, so as part of the extra in the renovations was we had a couple of areas in on walls that had already been painted that needed to be redone. So some extra patching around light switches that Ren's is just like, no, it's not good enough. I need to redo that. And it's like, oh, great. All right. We'll just add that back onto the list. And it's those interruptions, right? But now I can say that the walk-in is completely done, which was not on the planned list.
Mm.
And
Scope creep.
we forget those things that are now actually achieved,
Mm.
those interruptions that are achieved. The wedding, we started looking at dresses for her in October last year. So 9 months later, roughly, maybe it's only eight, we now have, not quite in possession, but we have the dress. So for that's the progress. And what a cool achievement because, I had a daughter who was very indecisive about what she actually wanted for a dress. So the fact that we got some decisions made and she's very happy with what she's achieved in what she's chosen for what that dress will look like. That's progress.
Hmm. I think people want to see that nice straight line progression from what they want to where they want to be, and they feel like it should just be like, okay, I decided, so I get there. But
Yeah,
if you've ever seen one of those little diagrams of like the path you have to travel, it's never a straight line. There's like ups and downs and backs and forth. So you might have to
all sorts
walk
of.
kilometers to get your distance because even though I want to cross, so let's say I wanted to cross the street here or across the backyard, they're only, I don't know, 200 feet away, 100 meters away from me. I can't just walk straight there. I've got to go around the entire block to get there. I've got to walk 1,600 meters or something in order to get to that house. Our expectations don't necessarily align with our physical reality,
Yeah, so that straight line from this point to that point is never,
unless
it's
I put
never
up
a
a zip
straight
line or
line.
something.
Yeah, it's never like that. And I've also been seeing this with people who I'm working with as well. And I think this is the thing. We do these activities to improve our world and it can be difficult sometimes to recognize what it is we've already achieved. And that's that looking back piece.
Hmm.
Where were you 12 months ago? Where were we 8 months ago when we were initially fine looking for what dress do you want, Angel? You know, um, 3 years ago, our house didn't have one little bit of new paint on it, and now it's over half done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other element that I thought of that comes into this kind of stumbling block of can you see the progress or what all that goes into seeing the progress is the expectation of how long something's going to take.
Mhm.
So I've had a couple of comments about renovations, which I'm actually really comfortable about, but people still say it to me. Oh, I thought you started those renovations 3 years ago. Oh, I did. Um, And then I explain why it's taking that length of time and the allocation of time that Renz and I are prepared to put into it in a year, which is really only about 3 months of the year.
Hmm.
Otherwise, our life is we're allocating time to other things in our life. But there's this outside expectation that, oh, well, if you're renovating the house, you're just renovating the house and you get it done. It's probably going to take me 5 years before I finish talking about renovating the house, if not
Sorry,
longer.
sorry, sorry, people. If you want a different topic, you're gonna have to come back later. But the thing is, it doesn't matter. Honestly, the topic is not the thing. The topic is just a way for us to share these different ideas, right? So seeing the progress, you can see this in any walk of your life. It just happens that we can all relate to a renovation story, a painting story, a sanding of deck story, whatever. And we don't necessarily know what we've got ourselves into. So even sanding the deck, in theory, that sounds great. And my father-in-law was going to rent a machine, and it was going to help us like do that process. And when I was too impatient to wait for the machine, so I'm like, I'm going to start on my other parts first, and then realize that all of my boards are cupped or raised.
Oh,
So
okay.
even if we had said machine, it's
It
just going to
wouldn't
take
have,
off like a skim off a surface of the area that's raised. Not going to take it off the whole board. So I wouldn't be able to use that process anyways. I would still have to do this little hand palm sander thing in order to be able to get out all of the you get all the old stuff off the boards anyways. So oftentimes we don't even know what we've got ourselves into. So even our expectation of being, oh, okay, this is a 2 week project, now it's a month because I haven't factored in the
the things I
extraordinary
don't
amount of
know.
time. Yeah, you don't know what you don't know until you know what they are. So
And
giving yourself
and
a
then
little bit of
we,
grace as to how long something's going to take, or maybe don't even set the expectation. It's like, I'm going to start the project this weekend and see what shows up.
yeah, because then we're not disappointed or beating ourselves up about, oh, it shouldn't have taken this long. We were supposed to be further along than we are now, and forgetting that those extra pieces had come in that created a little bit more activity than we'd expected.
So I have
Yeah.
another little quick example. So 3 months ago, I made an offer to two clients, and I offered them two different packages for two different reasons, just because of what I thought they needed. And one, it was the first time I had offered balancing as part of my process. So one person I offered just balancing to, the other one I offered coaching and balancing to. And I started off with the balance on both of them first. And it's worked well, and they're making progress, and it's great. But I'm starting to my thoughts on how I want to do it have evolved. So because I had no expectations, I'm like, this is my offer. Let's give it a shot. If you're up, if you're game, let's do this. And they both were. But now I'm starting to realize that I think they both need a slightly different version of how I'm doing it because now I'm more experienced and now knowing how I want to deliver it. So I'm going to make the course correction and offer up, and I sort of already have offered up the newest version of what that looks like because it honors me and my experience and what I think I'm really good at as the primary, with the other part being the secondary. Um, and I think
Yeah.
it'll be a really nice blend, but I wouldn't know that if I didn't start.
Correct, because and allowing yourself to adjust in the moment and go, actually, like you said, the course correction. Okay, well, we started on the walls in the dining room, but actually now because Renz was going around and taking off all the light switches and wrapping them up in plastic so that when we did eventually get to painting them, they're protected, that's when we discovered those extra areas needed to be done. And it's like, yeah, okay, course correction. Let's just focus on that bit then. We'll get that stuff done and then we come back and do the other things. So yeah, so I wonder if it's that the expectation can often get in the way because we expect it to be further along or we expect to have achieved X, Y, and Z by now. And reality is that there's just too many extra things in life that happen that feel like an interruption, but in actual fact, probably bring us more skills and talents
Mm.
and awareness that we actually need to continue going on the goal that we're actually aiming for. So I hear it when people start a new business. Oh, I want it to be this and I want it to look like this and I know the people that I need to be speaking to and you go, sure. And 6 months later, it's a different story.
Mhm.